Guide. Today we're going to be going over the BMW M2. What is the BMW M2? Well, it is the smallest M car currently, I guess you could say currently, available from BMW. The one we're going over specifically though is going to be the first gen M2 going from 2016 to 2021. Tons of different changes in terms of the model years, and so we're going to go over all the differences so you can find the one you want. If you're not familiar, here on the show, what we do first is we go over some videos so I can give you guys a feel of what the car looks like, and then afterwards we'll go over the features, options, and problems with the vehicle. I'll go through the brochures, go through a lot of documentation so you guys can get a real good feel of what you need to look for when you're searching for them online. And then afterwards we're going to look at some ads. So as you can see, 2 Series BMW is basically what the 1 Series was back in the day. They just made it a 2 Series for some reason. I guess they wanted to make the 1 Series a different platform. But it is essentially the same size as an E46 M3. So this technically is the spiritual successor to the E46 M3, or in general an M3, because M3 is so big now. I know a current, or not current, but like an F80 is like the size of a E39 5 Series. So just keep that in mind. This car is the smallest M car, but it is not that small. Same size, same footprint at least, same wheelbase as the E46 M3. It also carries a 6-cylinder engine. Depending on which one you get, you can get the M55 engine or the S55 engine. We'll go over the differences between each one, the pros and cons as well. I think I prefer the N55 engine, to be honest. The S55 is powerful and nice, but the N55 just has that sound and also that low-end torque that the S55 doesn't have as much of. Excuse me. We'll look at the dyno sheets, but again, with the S55 you get more top end. There seems to be a little bit more turbo lag. With the M55 it's more linear in terms of the throttle response. This one we're looking at right here is going to be a 2019, so it is the first year of the competition. All cars with the S55 engine are called the competition. All cars with the M55 are just simply called the M2. So if anyone says they have a competition, it means it's a 2019 or above. We're also going to go over the differences between a regular N55 and what the M2 has, because it's not a regular N55. Of course, it was supposed to be an M car, so they did a lot of work to make sure that the M55 was, capable. Let's hear some dynos, I think, is what I have next. Let me pause this music. All right, cool. What we got next? All right, so this is going to be a stage 2 OG M2. OG just simply means the N55 M2. Let's take a listen to the sound. Let me turn this up for you. Fair use, by the way. Fair use. Fair use. So as you just heard, that is the M55. Has much more of a I guess, how do I say this? It sounds deeper in the low end, but it also has a nice tone to it. The S55, as you all know, in the F80 M3s and F82 M4s, and it just sounds really farty and really tinny. But again, that's up to you. But this is going to be the power curve for a stage 2 turbo OG M2. As you can see, the torque stays pretty level from 3000, but again, it's stage 2. Also, this has a single turbo when compared to the S55, which has twin turbos. It's going to be that man, what's it called? It's like that whatever. You know what I'm talking about. It's like that twin type of turbo. It's called twin power for a reason, but I'm slipping my mind right now what exactly turbo is. It has a name. You can just put that in the chat if you know what I'm talking about. Anyway, here is an S55 M2 competition. As you can hear, it sounds a lot more gnarly. And as you can see, wheel torque is going to be 443.8 pound-feet, and horsepower is 437. What was the last one we just looked at? So this is with pure turbos, or pure turbo. It is going to have a max horsepower 529 and 542. So you can get big power out of either engine. Obviously, this is a stock setup with, well, stock is in the engine and turbo. However, it does have downpipes, charge pipes, intakes, and an exhaust. So that's why it makes this much power. But either or, the S55 is definitely more capable than the N55. However, it comes at a cost. We'll get to that in a second as well. Let's just see what it looks like on the road. You can see this is an OG M2. Fair use, fair use, fair use. This one's a competition. Again, another competition. You can also tell by the wheels. All right, you guys get the idea. And then finally, before we get into the show, I got one more video. It's going to be a driving video, so you get a feel of what it looks like inside the car when you're driving. This is a good video. Fair use, by the way. So as you can see, it's pretty simple interior. There's not much going on. It's the base BMW interior with the gauge cluster and the center console. But that's all you really need on a car this size. Just by looking at this car, you can see that it has a simple center console as well as this carbon fiber trim piece that's shaped like this. This means it's actually a 2018. But again, I'll get into all the differences between each of the model years in a second. let's get into the show. What is going on, y'all? On Run Cars back again with another car buyer's guide. As you can see, we just went over the BMW M2 in terms of its videos. Where is the pictures I had on here? Yeah, there we go. So BMW M2, as I mentioned before, spiritual successor of the M3 in terms of the E46. Before they started making it bigger, starting with the E92. The 2 Series is an interesting car because it used to be the 1 Series, and they had a car before this called the 1M that was kind of the spiritual predecessor of this, I guess you could say. It had a N55 as well. However, this one is much more capable than the 1M and probably a lot cheaper. Not a lot cheaper, but a little bit cheaper at this point as well. The 1Ms are pretty rare, and so these are a little bit better value, but that goes without saying. These are super expensive still when comparing them to an M3 or an M4 of the F Series. So just keep that in mind. We'll get into prices in a little bit, but before all that, let's get into the features, options, and problems with the BMW M2. So again, as I mentioned before, 2016 to 2021 were the model years of the M2, the F87 M2 in the United States. It was released in a video game, which is pretty interesting, and Need for Speed. That's when it was first seen by the public. And then it was released later in 2016 in the American, I forget, an auto show in America somewhere, but it was released in America. You have the pre-LCI and LCI for the N55, as well as the competition, which is a separate vehicle. So we're going to be going over 3, well, actually 4, because then after the competition, you have the CS, but we're not really going to dive too deep in the CS, but we'll take a look at some. So for 2016 to 2018, it uses the N55 3-liter straight 6 turbo. It's a single turbo, making 365 horsepower and 369 pound-feet of torque. There's some differences between the regular N55 that you find in the rest of the BMW lineup when compared to the M2 to make it more of an M car. You got a forged crank, forged connecting rods and pistons from the S55, so it actually carries those parts over. It uses cast iron cylinder liners, different oil pan, redesigned oil pump. Spark plugs are also from the S55, and it is the most powerful M55. So what's good about this is that the M55 was made for a long time, and they really worked out the kinks. And with this, they just made it a little bit more beefy, but still having that reliability of the M55. The S55 is not as reliable, but we'll get into that in a second. This also has axles, control arms, struts, shocks, and subframes, and wheel carriers carried over from the F80 and F82, M3, and M4. But one of the biggest differences, I mean, there's a lot of differences, but between the M55 and the S55 is that this car, or this engine, the M55, has an open deck, so it's not as strong. The reason why they switched from the M55 to the S55 was because the worldwide harmonized light vehicle test procedure was implemented, and that made it necessary or obligatory to have particulate filters, which the M55 did not come with because it came out in like the late 2000s, 2010, 2009-ish. No, 2011 I think is when it came out. Anyway, because the M55 didn't come with particulate filters, they would have to add that and retrofit it into the system, and they didn't want to do that when they already had the S55, and people were already complaining that the M55 wasn't a real M engine, so they just made the switch. 2019 to 2021, they used the S55, 405 horsepower and 405 pound-feet of torque, so a good 40 more horsepower and like about the same amount of torque more than the M55. It has the carbon strut brace that you see in the M3 and M4. Same engine setup, same everything. It has bigger brakes, the M Sport brakes. It has new mirrors. So as you can see, this is going to be an OG M2 right here in the picture. It has regular mirrors when the competition has traditional M mirrors. It has slightly different front and rear bumpers, as well as updated headlights, and dark taillights came in 2021. They're slightly darker, like 5% darker. It's barely visible. And then finally, you have the CS, which came in 2020. We'll go over the CS a little bit. The CS had around 460 something horsepower, same amount of torque. And it was just, you know, the sportiest version of the M2, and they're super expensive now. It's pretty ridiculous. 2016, again, is going to be the first year pre-LCI. 2017 was the pre-LCI with some more tech options. 2018, I say 2017. 2018 is going to be the LCI with the updated interior and front and rear lights for the OG M2. So you have 2 different styles, pre-LCI and LCI for the N55 M2. Then 2019 is when they introduced the S55. First year of the competition, most tunable. I'm not sure how accurate that is now, but I know that for a while they couldn't unlock the ECUs of late 2020 and 2021 models. So if you wanted to tune your competition, it had to be a 2019. I believe they're just going to be easier to tune in general. 2020, second year of competition. 2021, final year of competition with Dark Tails. So those are the features of the BMW M2. Off the bat, what I'd go for probably is going to be a 2018, so an LCI OG M2, simply because you have the M55, which is more reliable. You have a better torque curve with the M55 compared to the S55. The S55 is more has more turbo lag, it's more peaky. It also sounds better, to be honest, and you can get them for a lot cheaper. However, I do like the look of the S55, the competition model, more. In terms of options, let's look at an option sheet. I got several different option sheets for you guys. Let's see if I can pull them up here. All right. So you can see a brochure right here. This is going to be a 2016 OG M2. We can see some of the options they talk about. One thing about these is that there's not really too many options. You have 4 colors. You have, let me zoom in here. You got Alpine White, Long Beach Blue, Mineral Gray, and Black Sapphire. This is for the first model year, and the interior colors only come in one color. You have black headliner, black leather with blue stitching, carbon fiber trim, and the rest of the interior, of course, is going to be black. Here is a build sheet, so you can see exactly what to look for. So these are the colors we talked about. This is 2016. They added another color in 2017 and 18, I believe, for the OG M2s. But here we have Alpine White, which is going to be your standard color. So just keep that in mind. The Alpine White ones didn't have as high of an MSRP as the metallic colored ones, the Black Sapphire, Mineral Gray, and Long Beach Blue. Long Beach Blue is probably going to be the most popular color. You see that pretty much all over the brochures, and that's the color people like the most. I like it. It's not too bad, but we'll get into the colors in a bit. Anyway, you have standard leather or Dakota leather for the upholstery. Only one option. And then you have, for at least the 2016 models, only one package, which is the executive package. And here in America, I don't know why, but it seems like almost every single one of these has the executive package. The easiest way to tell if it has an executive package is looking at the light stock, so the left stock of the steering wheel. It has 2 buttons. One is to control the BC thing. I forget. I don't even know what it's called. Like your computer, I guess. That's in between the gauges. And then you have a button to control your automatic high beams. All of them seem to have it. Also, you can look in the dash if the car is on to see if it has speed limit info, but sometimes it doesn't show that. Another option is going to be the dual clutch transmission. These come standard with a stick, a 6-speed, but you can option a dual clutch for $2,900 extra, which is kind of a lot. And then, as you can see, the rest of these are standard. These are going to be the wheels on the OG M2. For 2017, as I mentioned before, they added some technology options. As you can see, CarPlay compatibility was available for 2017. So if you want a car that came with CarPlay stock, get a 2017. However, you can always, I'm not sure if the 16s, I know you can code them if you don't have this as an option. I'm not sure if the 2016s were able to have CarPlay. If not, you got to pay like $400-$500 for a module, take apart your dash and put it in that way, which isn't the most convenient thing, but it works. You also have options for an M driver's package. This came with the higher top speed as well as a pass to go to the M driving school, which is kind of cool, I guess, but it's only a one-time thing, so that can be used up. It probably is. If you find a car with the M driver's package, it just has a higher top speed, which you can always do by coding. And again, same wheels. And this, the 2018, is going to be the LCI model. You can see that this saw the introduction of a moonroof option for $1,050. And well, let me go back here. The executive package, yeah, it not only was CarPlay added as an option, but the executive package includes, this is a 2017 model, wireless charging and a Wi-Fi hotspot. You'd think that you could tell if it had the executive package because you could find a PDC button. However, in the M2s with executive package, there is no PDC button. The only way to tell is if it has a camera that pops up when you go into the reverse if you're driving it. But for park distance control, it's always on, which is kind of annoying for some people. I like it because I park in a garage and I need it, but some people don't like that. And again, 2018, same options for the executive package, except you have the introduction of the moonroof. Same wheels though. 2019, yep, this is 2019. As you can see, the colors change a little bit. Alpine White was still the standard color. so you don't have to pay extra. Metallic colors, you have black sapphire, Long Beach blue, sunset orange, and Hockenheim silver. These two colors are going to be a little bit more rare. I'd say if you could find a car that's orange or Hockenheim silver, that would be a good thing. The rest of the colors are pretty much standard. And as you can also see, they introduced a new option in terms of the interior upholstery. You have orange stitching or blue stitching. So you got black leather with blue or black leather with orange. And as you can also see in the executive package, this is the S55, by the way. This is the competition. Some of the stuff became standard, like the PDC, but you can see wireless charging and Wi-Fi hotspot, speed limit info. You also have a different set of wheels. I think it's going to be down at the bottom, but as you can also see, you get a black high gloss trim with pearl chrome accent. So this is basically like the Shadowline trim, just black trim. And then, yep, these are going to be your new wheels. Competition style wheels, many spokes. I prefer the look of these wheels. They look more like, I don't want to say aggressive, but more like meaty. They look better on the car, in my opinion. With these, they look the tires just look a little thin. With these, they make the tire look a little fatter. That's just my opinion, though. But as you can see, this is 2019, 2020. Let's scroll down. All right, cool. You can see the options pretty much stay the same. Nothing really changes from 19 to 20 in terms of options. And then 2021 is going to be, I guess you could consider it the LCI. Let's see. I got to type in competition. There we go. But same colors, same everything. It just has tinted taillights. Cool. All right. So in terms of options or problems, excuse me, these cars are typical BMWs. You're going to have leaking coolant lines, a bad water pump. It has an electronic water pump, which is interesting, that can fail pretty often. So just make sure that there's no leaks around the water pump. Of course, being an M55 or S55, you have coil failure. Yeah, pretty common on these straight six BMW engines. Cracked charge pipe is also a thing. It cracks around where it attaches to the intake. Oil leaks. Of course, it's a BMW. You got oil pan leaks, valve cover leaks, oil filter housing gasket leaks. Front and rear main seal sometimes, but not as much. You really want to check these big three though: oil pan, valve covers, and oil filter housing. Also, when you get these cars, try not to get a tuned one. If you do get a tuned one, make sure it was just like bolt-ons, but not like a new turbo. And they re-swap the stock turbo back on. That's not really a good idea, but a good way to tell your engine health, just like really quickly, is just unscrewing the oil filter, which is located on the top. You know, the oil filter housing gasket's right front and center when you open the hood, and you just look at the oil and see if it has any like metallic flakes in it. Obviously, if it does, then I'd stay away from that car. That could be anything, probably rod bearings or something like that, but just make sure there's no metallic flakes in the oil, and it's really easy to check. You also have the spun crank hub issue for the S55. A lot of people hype this problem up. Only a small percentage of cars had the spun crank hub issue. The problem is it costs like $2 or $3 grand to get it fixed, or like $3 or $4 grand to get the upgrade. So it's an expensive fix. Just make sure the car just, I don't know, it just does it sometimes. So yeah, that's just something you got to make sure that the car just hasn't been beat on. Spun crank hubs usually happen with high horsepower cars that have been tuned, have different turbos and everything. So if you're getting a stock one, you should be good. In terms of other issues, the earlier models, 2016, 2017, had some horn and signal issues. The signals would stop working, the horn would stop working for some reason. It also had iDrive and amp issues. The iDrive would just cut out or randomly select things, and it would just kind of go crazy. And the amp, because of where it sits, there's a vent that vents to the outside, and moisture can get in, and so the amp can get can go bad, and you'll be able to tell the amp go bad. It'll be really loud and staticky and making a lot of like extra noise through your speakers. And there is a fix for this, or a preventative maintenance thing you can do. You can put like a cover over the amp, and so the moisture doesn't hit it directly. You also have rear light and headlight moisture, so check to make sure the lights don't have moisture in them, no cloudiness. Heat spots on clutch. So if you get a manual, on the earlier manual cars, for some reason the clutch got some heat spots, and it's not really a bad thing. It just makes the takeoff a little bit more jittery. So keep that in mind. If you have a manual one, just when you test it, make sure that it lets out smooth and you don't have any jitters or judders, whatever you want to call it. And then also with the early dual clutches, it might have the same issue, but with the dual clutch, it's much more expensive to fix. It's not really an issue though. People just kind of ignore it, but all like the early M2 dual clutches aren't as refined as the later ones. I'm not sure if that's a tune, like something can be fixed with a tune, or it's just a slightly different setup in terms of the transmission itself. But the later model years, 2018 and up, usually don't have this jittery issue. I had some things I want to show you guys real quick. So this is going back to the M55. The M2 has the M55 B30 T0. These are going to be the other M55s that you'll see on the market. As you can see, this one is going to be in the M135/235. So the sporty version of the standard car. Then you also have the 335 and the 435. These are going to be those older versions of the M55. But as you can see, it has stronger and are forged in stronger bearings on the crankshaft. The pistons are cast M2 specific. They're actually taken from the S55. Forged rods. You have a bigger compressor and high flow manifold for the turbo. The downpipe is going to be a 4-inch inlet and 3-inch outlet, so it's a bigger downpipe. Cooling, you have an upgraded intercooler and further upgraded radiator. And then the power, these are going to be very conservative wheel horsepower. But as you can see, it's fairly upgraded when compared to the M55, so you can't really knock it in terms of having an M55 versus S55, saying it's not a real M engine. They really put a lot of work into making this a not only built motor, but more reliable as well, which it is. And that's one of the reasons why a lot of people actually get the OG, as they call it, the OG M2 when compared to the competition. However, of course, the competition is just going to have way more potential and way more room for tuning. It's also going to go for a lot more money. Hey, shout out to Owen Clark. He actually had a chat in the beginning of the show that I forgot to read. He says M2 is one of those where I like it, but there's few cars I'd rather own. Yeah, a lot of people say that. I think the M2 is coming around now because those cars that you rather own have gone up significantly in value. I'm same with the M2, honestly. But the M2 is just very reliable and not as expensive to fix as people think. Also, the driving dynamics on an M2 are pretty unmatched. And yeah, I was looking at the prices. I was like, wow, these have actually gone up a lot. And even when compared to an F80 M3, they're more expensive, which is pretty crazy. I guess it's weird though, because F80 M3s, you'll see them all over the place in terms of mileage. However, with the M2, most of them are going to be pretty low miles. I guess because it's such a purpose-driven car. Like you really don't want to drive it unless, it's like a weekend fun car. It's too small to be a true daily driver. But I'm sure a lot of people daily drives. But what I'm trying to say is that there are a lot of these with low miles. And so this is going to be a competition brochure, just in terms of the differences between the LCI OG M2 and the competition. You have different headlights. You have a different front fascia. It's slightly different. Actually, I've got some pictures here. Okay, so this is going to be a 2021. It says 2020, but it is really a 2021 versus 2020. As you can see, the tail lights get a little bit darker. So going back to the S55, the competition tail lights on 2021 are darker than the 2020. And then do I have a picture here? No. Well, I thought I had a picture comparing the two front ends, but I guess I exited out of it. Anyway, let's look at these notes. This is what this guy said. Emphatic. This are his opinions on the differences between the OG versus the M2, or the OG M2 versus the competition. I'm just going to read through them because I think this sums it up pretty well. You have the OG M2 positives that are either absolute or most would agree on. You have 121 pounds lighter. Yep, the OG M2 is 3,450 pounds. The M2 competition is 3,600 pounds. And that's simply because the S55 is a much beefier cooling system that weighs 150 pounds more, plus a bunch of other stuff as well. But just keep that in mind. The OG M2 is actually lighter. It sounds significantly better. I do agree. The S55 sounds raspy and it farts with gear changes, which is, I mean, it sounds okay with a lot of exhaust mods, but the N55 just sounds better out the box. Visually more pleasing muffler section. I guess the rear ends are kind of different, but they look more or less the same. Less expensive. N55 makes more torque down low, as I said. Significantly less chance of a crank hub failure. As I was mentioning, the S55 has that crank hub, or that spun hub, whatever you want to call it. The 437M wheels are lighter versus the 788Ms. So these are going to be these wheels versus these wheels. And then no scoring issues with the 19-inch wheels because blue brake pads can support 18-inch wheels. Can fit slightly wider front tires without modification, easier to change brake pads on. Many reports that the seats in the OG are more comfortable. That's another thing. The N55 M2 has more comfortable seats. I don't know what happened with BMW, but as time went on, the seats got more and more uncomfortable. The E-Series seats are some of the best seats, like an E90, excuse me, I almost forgot there. Like an E9X 3 Series has such good seats compared to an F80. And, you know, it just gets worse and worse for some reason. Not sure why they do that. I think it's just to make them more aesthetically pleasing and take up less space. But yeah, the old seats, way better. Unlock DME. Again, with the OG M2, the DME is a lot easier to tune. In terms of the competition, you got 40 more horsepower, 63 more torque, so a lot more torque, excuse me. Now, the brake package is superior for track cars. Yeah, it has better components in general. The F55, the brakes, the suspension, it's all going to be a little bit better. Significantly better cooling. Again, as I mentioned, the S55 has a much beefier cooling system than the N55, which is why it weighs so much. Well, one of the reasons why. 27% bespoke parts compared to the M55, all geared towards competition. Slightly updated Vano system, larger front air intake, significantly superior power when modified. Yep, it has much more top end in terms of the potential you have with the car. More advanced water-to-air intercooler, visually more preferred seats. Again, they look better, but they're not as comfortable. You have the M1 and M2 button settings on the steering wheel, which is pretty cool. I mean, that's like a big thing in BMW world now, is the M buttons on the steering wheel that you can configure. Parking sensors added, front parking sensors added. Before, it was just rear parking sensors and a rear camera in terms of the OG M2, but the M2 competition added front ones. Visually more pleasing exhaust tips. I mean, it's whatever. Carbon fiber strut tower brace. So similar to the F80 and F82, you have that carbon fiber piece. You know, I'll just show you guys because just to include it. S55 M3. You can see this is what it looks like right here, this carbon piece, which looks really nice. They got rid of it on the new one. What am I talking about? The B58, I guess you can call it. Yeah, the B50 or the S58. Excuse me, the B58 doesn't have it, but the S58 should have had it. It doesn't have it. Anyway, going back to this, S58 is going to be the M engine in the G Series cars. And steering, diff, and traction control software upgraded, but they're also available for the OG M2 as well. So that pretty much sums up the differences in terms of performance. You can take your pick. Again, I prefer an LCI OG simply because the price is better, and you got the M55, which is more reliable and sounds better. I'm not trying to have 500-600 horsepower out of one of these cars. 450 is probably the limit of what I go to in terms of tuning. But again, that's all up to you. Cool. All right, so we got through the features, options, and problems. Let's get to the ads. I got a lot of ads on Facebook today. We're going to try just a run of Facebook ads simply because they have more descriptions. And yeah, going through the dealership ads is kind of frustrating. They're nicer in terms of the way they're set up, but the dealership ads, they don't really provide a lot of the story of the car because they're just trying to sell it, obviously. Shout out to the people in the chat, all the quiet watchers and ninja watchers in the back. I appreciate y'all. Let's get on with the ads. So here we have a 2016 first model year in Alpine White. So again, this is going to be a one of the cheaper MSRP cars because it doesn't have the metallic paint. And for the OG M2s, the metallic paint, let's just bring that up here, was an expensive option. Oh, it's the same price. I'm tripping. It was the executive package. It was over $1,000. Anyway, $550. It doesn't really matter. Anyway, Alpine White. You can see here, it looks like an OG M2 white. Dual clutch transmission. As you can see, it's hard to see, but there's two buttons on the stock for the turn signals. That means it has automatic high beams or adaptive lights, whatever you want to call it. That means it has executive package. You can see these are going to be the OG M2 seats, looking more soft and comfortable. And then that blue stitching. What does he have to say about it? 2016 M2, 57,500 miles. Very clean M2 inside and out. It's fully serviced at BMW dealership. Clean Carfax title located in Alexandria. Tires, tired and brakes in great shape. No check engine light or any other issues. Only aftermarket parts with a black grille, emblem badges, M-style mirror covers. See those mirror covers. What do they look like? Okay, cool. So he has the newer updated M-style mirrors, which I like. I like them a lot better than the stock mirrors. The stock mirrors really make it seem like a non-M car on top of the engine. But yeah, these look pretty good. This car does not look bad at all. He wants $35,000. This is a 2016 model, 44 or 57,000 miles. He must have driven it since he listed. That's a lot of miles. It's a lot of difference in 4 weeks. Listed 4 weeks ago. He must be driving this thing. Anyway, 35 grand. You know, it seems like a lot, but that's kind of the market for these nowadays. They're in the mid 30s for whatever car, because they all have around 50,000 miles just around. I'd say for this one though, because it is Alpine white and because it's the first model year, you know, I'd probably be around the $32,000 to $33,000 mark. So I'd say 32 grand is what I'd be comfortable paying. I could go up to 33 if, I don't know, I really wanted this car, I saw it in person and everything. Like, I was just itching to get it. It might get a little bit more money out of me. But yeah, let's take a look at the brakes. Look good. I don't really see much of a lip. It looks in decent shape. Yeah, 32 grand. Cool. Moving on to our next one. We have another 2016 from Jason. So you can call Jason if you're interested in this car. 59,648 miles. They want $35,900 for this. Hey, shout out to DJ Inferno in the chat. What's going on, DJ Inferno? It's been a minute, man. I know I'm getting back into it. Last week I did the Ford Focus RS. I don't know if you were there, but it's good to see you back, man. I'm going to be doing another one this weekend, but I'll tell you guys about that at the end of the show. So for this 2016 M2 first model year, again, this one is going to be in black sapphire, a better color in my opinion. I do like the black sapphire. Brakes, they look all right. They look like they were stuck for a little bit, but in terms of lip on the rotors, not too bad. Interior, of course, is going to be the same with the black leather. Yeah, I mean, again, most of these cars look pretty much the same on the interior. We can see here. This one has some carbon fiber pieces on the shifter because, again, this is a silver piece stock. But yeah, this is going to be a 2016, so pre-LCI. Let's see if they show the dash. You can kind of see the dash design is like this, and we'll see when we get to 2018s how the dash design actually changes. But standard car, most of these were taken care of pretty well. 59,000 miles in black sapphire. 36 grand is what they want. Again, I'd say for one in the 50s in terms of 1,000 miles, I'd be around 32 max for this car. I think the black sapphire adds some. However, it does have a little bit more miles than the last example, only 2,000. But the black sapphire is cool. But the thing is, it's at a dealership, so you got to make sure that it has had the its services done, because it's around that time. 60,000 miles for BMWs is when these things start to leak, and so you want to make sure that it just had a refresh before you buy the car. Also, with the LCI model, you do get the new gauges. These are going to be the old gauges. Some people like them. Some people like the new gauges better. The new gauges is actually what you see on a lot of the BMWs, the F series from this era. These are kind of a little bit old school when compared to the model year 2016. For example, I just got an X5 diesel, and it's a 2015, and it has the new gauges. And so when we get to 2018, I'll show you guys what the new gauges is. They basically still have the edge in terms of the silver ring, but they are digital. They look a little bit better in my opinion. However, some people do like these old school M gauges. Cool. 32 grand is where I'd be at for this one. Next we have we got Jason. Then we got Jonathan. All right. So Jonathan's selling his now. We have a 2016 BMW M2. Again, 7-speed dual clutch, heated leather seats and steering wheel. So executive package off the bat, because a heated steering wheel is going to be part of the executive package. They're all around the same price, same mileage too. Is this the same car? Hold up. 2016. Yeah, this is the same car. I'm geeking. Jason and Jonathan. I don't know if they're brothers or what, but they're trying to sell this car. Anyway, here we have a 2017. So as you can see, the price is already going up, but this is a low mile example. This one is in Alpine white. It looks like, I guess it might be a little dirty. But again, it is a 2017, so it's not a facelift model. We do have the old school gauges. However, it does have Apple CarPlay. So if you're into Apple CarPlay, or that's like a deal breaker for you, get a 2017, not a 2016. The 2016, you're going to have to install it yourself. I'm not sure if you can code it in or you have to put in a module, but either way, it's going to be a little bit of work, or a lot of bit of work. But as you can see, this one, not too many pictures, a little bit dirty, but it is white. So not the most, specced out, I guess you can call it, in terms of color. See what he has to say. This car is honestly one of the best cars I ever owned. This car is extremely fast and extremely fun to drive. Very low miles, 31,000. No mechanical or cosmetic issues whatsoever. Stage true tuned through BM3. So again, this car has been tuned. You want to make sure that it checks out in terms of leaks. You want to make sure there's no flakes in the oil. So just take off the filter and look in the little oil filter housing, which is on top of the engine, front and center, when you open the hood. The exhaust sounds like something from an F1 racetrack. All right, relax, buddy. Clean title. Will turn heads and have people wanting to race for no apparent reason. This is my baby, and I'm sad to see her go, but I'm starting a family, so it's time I get something my wife considers safe. Damn. Your wife is making you sell it, man. He's never going to sell this car. That's why it's so expensive. As soon as you see a dude saying he's being forced to sell his car, that's when they ask like 20-30% over what it's actually worth. But I'll give it to him. It is a low mile example, so really can't have that much wrong with it. Help me find her a new home. So basically, this guy, if you try to do some negotiation with this guy, he's gonna use it as an excuse not to sell the car. So he's probably not gonna negotiate that much. However, for me, being a 2017, not a first model year with only 31,000 miles, I probably go up to around 37 grand. I say 37 for a low mile M2, especially being a 2017 with the Apple CarPlay just being a little bit more convenient, will be not that bad of a deal. The problem is with these OG ones, especially the pre-LCI, in my opinion, I think they'll be a little bit harder to sell than the LCI ones. So just keep that in mind. A lot of people want that technology in terms of the new gauge cluster, as well as the updated lights and interior from the LCI. But not a bad example here. Moving on, we have another white one, a 2017. This one has 74,000 miles and they want 36 grand. As I said, all these cars are like mid 30s, no matter what the mileage is. However, this one is special. It has a manual transmission. As you can see, the 6-speed manual. This is the way I would have it. The dual clutch is really good. However, with a car this size, a manual just is kind of unbeatable. You can see here, sorry, I'm trying to tilt my head looking at this. It has the executive package. That's all we really care about. It's in white with the executive package. So you could say this is pretty much fully loaded. It's a 2017. I guess I could say CarPlay is an option in 2017. So it doesn't necessarily have it. However, you can code it in if you don't get that car or it doesn't have that option. So 6-speed manual, they're probably going to go for a little bit of a premium, even though the dual clutch costs almost $3,000 more than the manual, but you just don't see as many manuals. And this is the one that's kind of more for enthusiasts. Not really a fan of how shiny these seats are. He used some low quality cleaner for these seats. They look all right though, I guess. This is what the standard mirrors look like when compared to that first example we looked at that had the M-style mirrors. The M-style mirrors look better, but they weren't stock. This one is pretty stock. Let's see what he has to say. I'm selling my father-in-law's 2017 BMW M2 Coupe. Okay, so the guy doesn't even know how to sell his own car, so he's having his son-in-law sell the car, which can be a good thing. It means that he's not really trying to negotiate that much. He'll just kind of take what you can get, but that's why he put the price kind of high. It's in great condition. It only has had one owner, so this is good. One owner cars are always going to be good. You get the whole story. Serious inquiries only, and those interested must have a full understanding of driving a manual vehicle. Yeah, I get that. You don't want someone just burning your clutch on a, on a little joyride. We are not letting anyone who is not serious about the purchase test drive this M2. All right, so we got the M whatever. Yeah, this is just regular stuff. Heated steering wheel, Apple CarPlay. So it's fully loaded for 2017. 74,800 miles though, which is kind of a lot. Yeah, 36 grand is way too much for me, especially for 75,000 miles. I'd say for me, being a 2017 fully loaded with CarPlay and everything, I'd be willing to go up to probably 30 grand. 30 grand is my max because it's a manual. I probably start off at like 29 though, get up to 30 and just kind of call it a day. It's kind of expensive, but hopefully, the guy didn't seem too familiar with car sales because he's having someone else list it for him. So maybe he'll, just take it if you show up with 30 grand, one of those types of days. Anyway, moving on, we have another 2017. This one's going to be in the Long Beach blue. Pictures aren't that great. Ads not that great. I hate this looks so corny with the emojis. But I guess that's just a super nerd car guy takes. Other people, I guess, will be like, it will get their attention. Already off the bat, you can tell it's an executive package. It has the backup camera. Long Beach blue is going to be one of the more popular colors. Does he say how many miles it has? 108,000 miles. Okay, so this is one of the higher mile examples. Long Beach blue, high mile, 2017. Does it have CarPlay? It doesn't really say this. Yeah, backup camera. It has executive package. CarPlay, I don't know. Looks pretty good for 108,000 mile cars. You can see the seats are in good shape. No mats though, so we lost the mats somewhere along the way. I hate it when the cars come without the mats because mats are kind of hard to get sometimes. Yeah, as you can see, still 2017, so pre-LCI. We got the old school gauges. We got the good looking M wheels, in my opinion. OG M wheel, M2 wheels. Looks very clean for the amount of miles. However, for 108,000 miles, 32 grand is way too much, even though it's in Long Beach blue. Still dual clutch car. Executive package, most of them had executive package anyway. I think for this, I'd be willing to probably go up to around 25 or 26 grand. That's probably where I'd stop at. I'd get something else. For 26 grand, I'm not trying to get this high mile car. I mean, above 26 grand, I think 26 grand is where I'd be at. However, this is at a Lexus dealership, so I don't know if they're going to do too much negotiating, but you can always try, 26 grand. All right, moving on to our next ad. We have another Long Beach blue one. High miles, but not as high. 84,000 or 85,000 miles on this one. 2018 though, so this is the year to get, in my opinion. This is going to be the LCI. Let's look at the interior. We can see the interior on the LCI is a little bit different in terms of the way this carbon is. Let's see. So you can see the design's completely different. You have this, it kind of goes out like this, but on this one, it is connected to the center. So different interior. You can also see the different gauge cluster. This is kind of the more standard F-Series gauge cluster with the digital screen. However, it has the analog ring, so it looks like an analog gauge, but it is not. However, the rest of the interior is the same. When we look at the competition, it has a whole different center console. But yeah, this one is going to be a 2018, 84,000 miles, 34 grand is what they're asking in Long Beach blue. This is a pretty good spec. 2018, as I mentioned, LCI, and in Long Beach blue, dual clutch, so not optimal. This one also has a sunroof option, so you get a little bit more of a open feeling in the cabin. Some aftermarket carbon parts as well. You have a carbon front wings, I guess. I don't know what to call this. It's not a splitter, it's not on the front, but it's on the sides. Same thing on the right here, the side skirts. Looks pretty good, I'm not gonna lie. And we also have a carbon fiber spoiler here as well. Not a bad car. 34 grand is what they're asking. Hey, shout out to Y Hus in the chat. What's going on, man? It's been a minute. But I'm gonna try to get these out more often. 84,512 miles. Let's scroll through the pictures a little bit more. Brakes, rear brakes look okay. Front brakes, I can't really tell. But yeah, again, 2018, so this LCI. You see the lights are also different too. Let's see if we can find a picture of the lights here. Yeah, they're more round in the pre-LCI. In the LCI, they're more angled, so different lights. Tail lights also have a different design too. They're more, let's see if we can see. So you can see big reverse lights on the pre-LCI, and they're on top. For the LCI, the reverse lights are on the bottom, as well as the whole design kind of changes. So this is the one to get, in my opinion. 34 grand. I'd say for having 84,000 miles, 34 grand isn't too bad, but for 84,000 miles, being it is an LCI, I'd probably try to get it around 31 or 30. We'll just say 30, but 31 is where I'd stop at, honestly, because I really like the LCI M2 OG. 31 grand. Cool. Moving on, we have another Long Beach blue one. A lot of Long Beach blues. This one, though, 30,000 miles. See what he has to say about it. Did we read the description on the last one? Oh, nothing. Anyway, highly sought after BMW M2 in Long Beach blue metallic. This car is new, both inside and out. All forward surfaces have clear wrap. Okay, that's good. So it has, a paint protection film on the forward surfaces, which is good. However, you want to make sure that it's not too old, or else it will cause discoloration. Look close. It's in great condition. Clean Carfax available on request. Yeah, so this is going to be a low mile example. Something to get if you want to keep this for a long time, use it as a driver. Again, it's 2018, so it's going to have CarPlay as an option, but this one probably has it. Brakes look good, of course. It only has 30,000 miles. Not too many pictures, though. But, I mean, it looks clean. For a 30,000 mile LCI OGM2, I'd probably be around the $38,000 mark. I'd say for 38 for a pre-LCI, like 37 for this, 38 for an LCI, just a little bit more. Especially being in Long Beach blue, you could probably even get more than that. Again, these cars are pretty expensive. This one isn't too far off in terms of price, but you're going to be paying a lot for an M2, which is why a lot of people don't. But again, the prices have stayed high, so people are actually paying good money for these cars. Moving on to our next one, we have another 2018 in black sapphire metallic. Automatic transmission, so dual clutch, 35,000 miles. They want 42.7. So again, same kind of deal with the last example we looked at, but it is in black. So all depends on what you want, black or Long Beach blue. Executive package, LCI car, updated dash, updated gauges. But it is still an OG M2, so you don't have the other interior colors in terms of the orange stitching, as well as the different center console. Let's hear what it sounds like. Since he has the video, what does he have to say? Nothing. Schedule time. He has the M Performance exhaust on here as well. That's a big option. Those are pretty expensive, so the M Performance does add some value to it as well. I'd say because it has the M Performance and has 34,000 miles, I'd be willing to go up to, yeah, I'll be at 38, maybe 38.5. He's not too far off. Not too far off. Cool. All right, moving on to our next one. Another Long Beach blue in 2018. I'm trying to find, man. Same thing, man. 33,000 miles, but they want 44. This is at a dealership. I'd say again, for being a 2018, 30,000 miles-ish, I'd be willing to probably go up to 37.5 for this one. Not too much going on. You can see it has a second button, so you already know it's executive package. But yeah, same thing, same deal as the other ones. Here we have a 2019, the first competition. So as you can see, it has the 788M wheels, different wheels. The other ones were 437Ms. These are 788Ms. You can see it also is in the, I think this is the gray color. Or is this white? Alpine white. It looks so gray, but maybe it is Alpine white. Do we have any gray out? Yeah, this is white. Alpine white. So we can see it has different front grille, bigger grille. Let's look at the old grille just for comparison. We can see the old grille looks much more traditional. This one is going to be a little bit different shaped. A lot of people prefer this front end. It doesn't really matter to me. It has a different front end. It looks a little bit more aggressive, but only a little bit. This one, as you can see, has a different interior package. It has the orange stitching, and it is a manual. And looking at the center console, we can see this is much more modernized center console. What you'll find on the competitions, if you don't get a CS, they all have a blank button. This is going to be the adjustable suspension button, which the M2 competition did not come with. So that's annoying. A lot of people just put some random sticker on there, like an eject button or something, just to make it look less cheap. But yeah, BMW could have done a little bit better with this blank button, especially for an M car. It's kind of ridiculous. Anyway, we can see it has the new gauges as well, because it is a newer car. So these are digital gauges. They look pretty good. Again, executive package. You can see it has the speed limit info right there in the screen. I believe the iDrive is updated too. Here you can see the S55 engine. When compared to the M55, the S55 looks a lot better under the hood, even though this one is pretty dirty, but you do get this carbon fiber strut brace, which looks really good in my opinion. But yeah, manual, orange interior, white exterior, competition, 60,000 miles. They want $45,000. These cars are getting up there, man. 45 grand, 60,000 miles. I'd say for me, I try to get this under 40 grand. But I know that's probably not happening. I'd say for me, 60,000 miles, 40 grand would be the most I'd try to pay for one of these. Hey, Clean Whips in the building. What's going on, man? But yeah, 59,000 miles. Try to get it for 40 grand. However, that'll be really hard to sell because these are they're competition ones. These are the ones with the real M engine, so people really like these. This one is also okay. So this one has some work done to it as well. It has 57,000 miles, clean 4-pin main crank hub upgrade. Excuse me. Performed. It has a boot mod stage 2 tune, downpipe, charge pipes, new plugs and coils, fresh service at BMW, orange stitching, carbon spoiler, carbon tail, good to go, 6-speed. Yeah, this is a pretty good car. It has all the expensive things done to it in terms of the crank hub. It also has the downpipe, charge pipes. So it's like basically a full bolt-on car. Basically, you can also add some other things. So it's not a bad deal. Maybe I'll go up to 41 grand for this because it has 60,000 miles. But again, a manual S55 with down pipes and charge pipes and a tune, as well as the crank hub upgrade. You're good to go. This is going to be a great car. So yeah, you can see the splitter here and everything. Okay, cool. So yeah, 41 grand is what I'd be at for this one. Not a bad example here. Moving on, we have a Long Beach Blue competition. I don't know why, but the Long Beach Blue looks better with the 437M wheels, in my opinion. than the 788 wheels. Where are they at? It just looks better on the OG M2 than the competition, but that's just my opinion. Let's scroll through these. What can we see? Regular exhaust, competition though. Interior has the blue stitching. This is a dual clutch, not a manual. As you can see, no matter what car, no matter what package you get of the M2 competition, unless you have a CS, it's going to have that blank button. These are going to be the new seats when compared to the old seats. Look at the old seats real quick. Let's find an ad with the old seats. Okay. I know this one had the old seats. Yeah, you can see this is the old design of the seats. This is the new design. The old design of the seats are way more comfortable than the new seats. So keep that in mind. These new seats are not as comfortable, at least for me. In every F80 M3 I've been in, there's like this bar right here at the bottom. And I'm pretty sure these are the same seats. So yeah, those are pretty uncomfortable. Let's see. Scrolling through this though, see it's not bad. I mean, executive package, comp, Laguna, Long Beach blue. 2020 though, so this is actually going to be a newer model year. 50,000 miles, they want 47 grand for it. You know, it's not too bad, honestly. For 50,000 miles, 46 for a 2020, I'd probably try to get it around 41, 42. And, you know, I think that would be a pretty good deal. Let's see what it has to say. Gorgeous Long Beach blue with black Dakota and blue stitching. 2 owners, but both were the... What? 2 owners, but both were the original. So the car was owned by 2 people at first. Interesting. Anyway, 42 grand is where I'd be at for that one. Moving on, we have another Long Beach blue one. This one doesn't have as many pictures. Dual clutch again. 51,000 miles, they went 47. Is it the same car? Yeah, same car. Get that out of here. All right, we have another. Is this, I can't tell, is this the white or the Hockenheim? Let me look this up because I need to know. Hockenheim gray M2. Okay, yeah. So that is the gray. I'm telling you, like, it looks better than the white. I was about to say. Oh, white. I'm about to figure this out. All right, cool. Yeah, the gray is one of my favorite colors for the M2. It's a blurry picture, but you can tell it's gray and white. Gray and white. All right, cool. So this one is in gray. It's at a dealership, so good luck. I don't know what this is. 10.5 is the down payment. Is this a lease? I have no idea what this is. The price is not there. But it has 89,000 miles. But it is in gray. One of my favorite colors for this car. Blue stitching. 89,000 miles. I'd probably be at around the high 30s. Maybe like 36, 37 for this. I'm not sure what this is. 10.5. But it's been listed for 8 weeks. So I don't know what they're trying to do here. Brakes don't look that great. Again, 89, 90,000 miles on this car, so keep that in mind. If a car with this high miles, you have to change the brakes. You're going to have to do full fluid service. You're going to make sure it's not leaking anywhere. And the shocks, these cars ride pretty rough, so the bushings are probably not that great. So it's really in your best interest to get a lower mile car. Just trying to balance costs with miles, obviously. Moving on, we have another Long Beach blue. Same one we looked at before, man. I need to check these. Here we go. 2021. So now we're in the 2021s. 54,000 miles on this one. It is in gray as well. I love the gray. Sunroof car. Blue stitching on the interior and is a 6-speed manual. So you can see he put some dummy sticker right here just to make it look less cheap. 788 wheels, of course, because it is a competition. And here we go. Executive package. And Hockenheim silver paint. So 58, that's crazy. $58,900 was the MSRP. Well, 62 was the MSRP. It's only down 13 grand from MSRP at 54,000 miles. If you bought one of these new, this would probably be one of the best new cars you could buy in terms of depreciation. That's crazy. Anyway, 2021, fully loaded and ready to go. 1 owner, local 6-speed manual, executive package, wireless charger, Wi-Fi hotspot, of course. That comes with the executive package. This one has PPF all the way around, which is really good because PPF all the way around is like 4 grand. $49,000 what they're asking, 54,000 miles. It's 2021, so this is the last model year of the M2 comp. I'd say for me, I try to get this around 45, maybe 44. 44 would probably be a better deal, obviously, than 45, but 44 might be a hard sell. But 44 is where I'd be at for this. Manual, PPF'd, Hockenheim gray. Yeah, this isn't bad at all. Sunroof, $44,000. That's insane. You could buy a really nice F80 M3 for that price. Really nice. Damn. Anyway, moving on, we have another 2021. This one only has 18,000 miles, again in Long Beach blue. Scrolling through, this one is nice. Manual as well. This one has the blue stitching on the seats. Carbon fiber trunk spoiler. Has some aftermarket I don't know if they're aftermarket, but it has some M tips. Is it M Performance? I can't tell. It doesn't say M Performance. It has the upgraded mirrors as well to be carbon as opposed to being painted. What do you have to say about it? Beautiful car, garage cap, $5,000 worth of carbon fiber upgrades, tinted windows, ceramic coated, blah, blah, blah. Yep, doesn't really matter. That is what you put on the car, and you can consider that a loss if you do mods to your car, cosmetic mods. Unless they're super expensive cosmetic mods, $5,000 is not really that much. Carbon fiber parts can get pretty pricey, but yeah, I'm not going to really factor that into the cost. Just mileage and, of course, the spec. 18,000 miles, so low miles. It's crazy, man. You saw in the last one, the MSRP was 63,000 pretty much, and they want only 3,000 less than what it was worth 4 years ago, and they put almost 20,000 miles on it. Like, divide 3,000 by what, 448? What's that? 3,000 divided by 48. That means you paid $62 a month for this car. That's crazy. Anyway, 59 grand, I'd say, or he expects to pay $62 because we're not paying 59. I'd say for me, I try to get this under 55 just because I don't want to pay 59, 60 grand. This new car prices, I'm sure you could find. You can basically find a new M2 for like 5 grand more than this. So keep that in mind. Here we have another 2021. 23,000 miles. Again, 55 grand. So that's what I'm talking about. Low miles as well. This one's also a manual and it's in gray. I'd rather have this one for 55. But because he's asking for 55, I'd probably try to get him around 52 or 53. But again, these are super stupid expensive right now. In fact, let's look at a different M2 before we get to the CS, because the CS prices are just ridiculous. Look, you can get one of these 2,700 miles for 66 grand. They're asking for a new M2. And it's manual, and it has all the new screens. So it's kind of ridiculous how they're getting up into the 60s for the old M2 competition, but you can get a brand new M2 2024 with 2,700 miles, manual as well, in a cool color for 5 or 6 grand more. Clean Whip said, now this is the collector car compared to that Focus. Yeah, man. I mean, obviously the M2 is going to run circles around the Focus in terms of everything, performance, quality, looks, but Ford Focus RS is going to be a collector's car. Just mark my words. But yeah, if you want to spend 60 grand on an M2, get a new one. You don't have to spend 60 grand on an old M2. Anyway, let's get to the real M2s right here. The M2 CS. Now, competition CS, I guess you can call it. It has these wheels. I forget the number code on these, but these are competition specific. You can either get them in black or gold, as you can see here. The competition has adjustable suspension. It also has 60 more horsepower than stock. And it also has competition seats with the holes, as well as competition seat belts. So a lot of upgrades here. This one is also in manual. You can see instead of carbon fiber, it has Alcantara, as well as CS. I said competition seats. CS seats. It also has Alcantara instead of carbon fiber. But yeah, this one, just a really capable car. Anyone who drives, I've never driven one, but anyone who drives them say this is one of the best driving experiences. Although on the road, it's a little bit stiff. It has adjustable suspension, but it's still a really stiff car. You see the S55 looking pretty good. Only 10,000 miles in this example. They want $90,000 for this M2 CS. Think of all the other cars you could get for $90,000. I get it. These CS cars, the M3 CS, the M4 CS, the M2 CS, they're gonna be collectible at some point. But for $90,000, like, man, you can go get another collectible car. You can go get like an R8 or something. 90 grand, I don't know, man. That's why you barely see these on the road, because it's ridiculous. This one also has a carbon fiber roof. So lots of cool stuff on the CS. It's just stupid expensive. Only 400 in the United States. Carbon fiber roof, spoiler, lip, diffuser, special CS wheels. Very limited car, yeah. But 90 grand, man. I don't know, man. I try to get it like, I don't even want like pricing these because it's like I never buy something like this. But maybe like 80, 78 grand just to get a deal. But again, they know what they have. Only 400 in the United States. So 90 grand. 78 is what I'd be at. Here we have another one. Even less miles. This one is going to be a dual clutch. This one was a manual version. I think the manual will be the coolest one to have, but the dual clutch is going to perform better, obviously. Again, you can see this one has the orange stitching. What color? This one had red stitching almost. This one has orange stitching. Hockenheim. Gray. This one has the black CS wheels, as you can see, with the red calipers. Again, you can see the adjustable suspension button right here. So fully loaded, I guess it has to be. It's a CS. Oh, another thing about the CS is that it's not as great as driver's car, not only because the suspension is a little bit different, it's a little bit stiffer, but it also has the worst speaker system you'll ever hear. So keep that in mind. This one actually has Harman Kardon in it. Interesting. I wonder if they upgraded that, or unless there's supposed to be another speaker here. But stock, the CS has a really bad speaker system. Let me see. Hold on. Let's look at the interiors real quick. I don't know. It says Harman Kardon still, but the speaker system in the CS is not that great. Of course, the CS is supposed to be the lightest version, so yeah. Cool. All right, so those are the ads for today. As I mentioned before, let's take a look back at this paint sheet. What I'd recommend getting is a 2018. You can get them in the 30s. They also come with the LCI, or they are LCI, as in the Life Cycle Impulse, which means facelift. They're going to come with the more reliable M55. You can get them in manual or DCT, and they also have CarPlay. So it's kind of like the best of both worlds. If you want to go competition, I don't blame you. They have much more potential in terms of tuning. However, in terms of competition, I just get a 2019. The first year of the competition, I usually say don't get the first year of a car, but the first year of the competition is still the third or fourth year of the M2 itself. So they worked out a lot of the kinks. And the S55 has been in production since like 2015, 2016. In the F80 and F82, M3 and M4, so it's not like you're getting the first iteration of the engine. The S55 also looks a lot better when you open up the hood. You have the carbon strut brace. You also get a lot more performance parts with the S55. However, I do like the way the old M2 looks in terms of the wheels. It looks a lot more meaty. I don't know how else to describe it. I think it's just because it's a 5-spoke versus like a 20-spoke, whatever those 788 wheels have. And also, don't be fooled by the M55 being called an M55. It's still the most built, the most powerful M55 that was ever produced, and is built to last. Again, more reliable than the S55. Sounds better too. The S55 sounds like a fart can. The M55, it reminds me of my M54 days when I had my 335 full bolt on. That thing sounded so good, and it was so fast, and I had so much torque. I missed that car a lot. I had a E90 6-speed 335. It was 07 with the N54. Back then, the N54, the first iterations of the N54 had more forged parts than the later N54s. And then before they changed to the N55, which just wasn't as good. But old N54s with the forged parts, yeah, that one was a great spec too. It was Monaco blue on Terra brown with the aluminum trim, single hump. It was great. Anyway, N55 sounds good, more reliable, cheaper to buy in terms of the price of the car. The S55 sounds bad, or I'll just list the pros. The S55, more power, you get more technology, you have the guaranteed updated interior for the OG M2. If you get the pre-LCI, you're going to have that old school interior in terms of the dash design as well as the gauge design. That's why I recommend the 2018 specifically, because you get the new dash, new gauge, however, with the old engine, and I think it's the best of both worlds. In terms of problems, being a BMW, you want to make sure that everything is good in terms of leaks. You don't want to see any leaking coolant, no leaking oil, no power steering leak. Oh, sorry, these are electric steering. You don't have that issue. But yeah, you want to watch out for the oil pan, valve covers, and oil filter housing gasket. For the S55, make sure it doesn't have a spun crank hub. I don't know how you can be able to tell that, but just keep that in mind. It can happen. And for the pre-LCI OG M2s, you're going to have some electrical issues. Horn, signals, iDrive, amp are usually the big four that happen with these. And then with all the M2s, you're going to have light moisture, I guess you can call it. Headlight and taillight moisture issues on some of them, depending, I guess, on what climate they're in. I don't know. Happens in some cars. Heat spots on clutches on the early M2s as well. So keep that in mind when you test drive these cars. Give it like floor the car. Make sure that it takes off smoothly. You don't if it jitters with the manual, if it jitters with the DCT, you really should not get that car. There are plenty of these for sale right now, almost 200, 250, somewhere in that range of M2s for sale. So there's a lot to pick from. In terms of colors, I'd recommend getting the Hockenheim gray if you get Hockenheim silver, if you get the competition, if you get the standard, if you get the M55, if you get the OG M2. Yeah, Long Beach blue metallic is going to be the resale red of this car. But any color works. Alpine white looks good as well. Alpine white always looks good. Black sapphire metallic, I think something I would go for. Mineral gray is also good too. It just doesn't, the Hockenheim just looks very unique. Mineral gray is not that bad though. Yeah, always look for the executive package. Some people really don't want it, I guess, or at least when they were optioning them. A lot of people were talking about not optioning the executive package. However, when you look at them for sale, they all have it. So I think they were all just bluffing. So yeah, if you can find one without the executive package, that'll be kind of interesting because I could not find one without the executive package. And again, if you get the 2017 Plus, you get CarPlay. If you get a 2018 Plus, you get the whole new iDrive. And then if you get a 2018 Plus, you can also get a moonroof if you're into that. It is a smaller cabin, so the moonroof does add a lot of perceived space, you can call it. But yeah, that pretty much covers the OG F87 and the competition M2, as well as we went over the CS a little bit, but the CS is just way too much. Clean Whip said 90 for an M2. Might as well get a Porsche. Yeah, man, that's what I'm saying. You can get so much better cars for 90 in terms of like a more performance-oriented car. So that's really for the BMW M2 nerds. Someone with like 50 cars already that just want to add to their M collection, I guess. But yeah, that pretty much wraps it up. I hope you guys enjoyed it. We're going to be going, we're going to be doing another car buyer's guide on Sunday. We're going to be doing the Lamborghini Urus. So stay tuned for that. Tons of options on those cars. That will be a fun one. And yeah, I'll see you guys on Sunday, probably around the same time, 5:30 or 6 p.m. And yep, that wraps it up. Y'all have a good one. I'll see you guys on Sunday.